let's now look at coaching. What is coaching? Well, there are three main differences between coaching and many other things like counseling, therapy, training, consulting. Numero uno, number one, coaches are non-judgmental. Now, what does that mean? It means that to a good coach, it should not matter who your client is. It should not matter if your client is a man or a woman, young or old, rich or poor. It should not matter the color of their skin or their belief or religious system. So a good coach is completely non-judgmental. Now, that's a problem. Because the truth is, you and I, even if you don't know this, you and I, we are all judgmental. We grew up in a family, and as little children, we got influenced by family and parents and so on. We went to school, and we got influenced. Today, you have friends. You meet your friends for a coffee. You talk, you get influenced. You watch television, you get influenced. So actually, all of us have a large mountain of judgments on our shoulders. So when you train to be a coach, one of the things you learn is how to take your judgments, like a jacket, and take it off and put it to one side. So that when you are coaching, you are clear of judgments. And we teach that. And then, when you are finished coaching, if you want, you can take your judgments and put them back on again. But something weird happens. Something funny happens. The more you do it, the more you become it. Yes, the more you practice being non-judgmental, the more you actually, as a human, become more non-judgmental. You become more accepting. And I think that's a good thing. But of course, that's my judgment. So even that is a judgment, you know? So to be a good coach, you need to have in here a willingness to learn how to be non-judgmental. I travel a lot, and I meet people all over the world, and they always ask questions. But one question I get asked a lot is, what do you need to be a good coach? What knowledge or techniques or skills, what do you need? And there are two answers. There is the official answer, and there is the truth. The official answer is, there's so much to learn. Oh, you need to be an expert in questioning skills, listening skills, values, ethics, belief, self-esteem, dealing with abundance, building rapport, goal planning, all of that. But that's not the truth. The truth is, you actually need one thing. You need to really love people. It's that simple. You need to really like working with people. If you love people, we can teach you questioning skills, listening skills, value. We can teach you all of the stuff. But I can't teach you to love people. People get confused. You know when you fly in an airplane, you know, and they give you the instructions, and they say, if the oxygen mask comes down, and if you have a child, who do you put the mask on first, you or the child? Yourself. So you don't help the child? After. Wow. But that's true. You help yourself. And it's similar here. It is very difficult to love other people if you don't love yourself. But let me explain what I mean by love. This is not a physical love. It's not about being intimate with people. This is not... Another word, or two words that maybe explain it slightly better are have compassion for other people and yourself, and acceptance. You accept yourself, even your problems, your faults, you accept yourself unconditionally. You have compassion for yourself, and then you are able to accept other people, have compassion, and love other people.
High self-esteem.
High self-esteem, yeah, which is different to confidence. Yeah. So, very important. High self-esteem, your image, your mental image of how you regard yourself is very important indeed. Very important. So yeah, sorry.
What about the ego? Because we think the ego is kind of playing a role in all that judgment that's kind of pushing from within, and that
yes, it is.
We need to tame and kind of...
We do need to tame it, and many of the Eastern philosophies teach it is important to tame the ego and to put it to one side. And it's not easy to do. And in the Western world that we live in today, and I'm going to talk about this later, we get influenced by television, Hollywood, magazines. You know, if you want to be successful, you should drive a red Ferrari, and you should wear Chanel, and and we get conditioned to thinking a lot of it is about how we look and appear to other people, and this is ego, and it's also narcissistic. And a coach learns, or a good coach learns, how to put that to one side, and that their ego is of no importance in the great scheme of life. And it takes a while to learn that. It takes a long time. But
I asked because there are niches in coaching.
There are.
Different kind of niches. And the more you're an expert in one field, the bigger
your ego, yes, I know.
And the urge to advise but not coach is stronger, and that's why I just wanted to ask you, what do you find and how you kind of cope with that? Because with the years, everyone, you including, grow with experience and knowledge and stuff. So how do you manage to suppress?
It's important to always, I'll use the word humble, to be humble, because no one is better than anyone else. Absolutely no one. And the society we live in is very good at creating division. Very good at creating division and setting up groups to be different to other groups. But thank you for asking that. So, a good coach is non-judgmental, or at least they have the willingness to learn how to be non-judgmental. Number two, coaches are non-directional. Non-directional, okay? What does that mean? It means that there are certain words a coach would never use. Words like must, have to, ought to, and should. Coaches, we do not point fingers, we do not tell. And this can be quite difficult for people, especially if they've come from a background, maybe management consultancy, or they've been in management themselves, and they're used to giving solutions, they're used to giving answers. They have to bite their tongue, you know? Now, is there anything wrong in being directional? No. No, there isn't. So imagine, we're in this hotel, and imagine the fire alarm bells went off right now. And Evelina stood up, and she said, everyone, shh, silence. Listen to me. Do exactly what I tell you. and I will lead you out of here safely. If that happened, I would be right behind you, okay? I would not want to call a meeting to discuss it, okay? So there are times in life it is appropriate to be directional. Take a ship. A ship has a captain. Now, I don't know if you know this, but a ship is not a democracy. It's not a democracy. It has a captain. And whatever the captain says is law. You know, a company, believe it or not, is not a democracy. Right? So there is nothing wrong in being directional. There are times in life when it is correct and appropriate, but coaches are non-directional. We do not do that. And finally, the third pillar of coaches is this. Coaches have no answer. But in fact, it's not the third pillar. It's the numero uno. It's the number one. Coaches have no answer. And this, my friend, comes down to the ego again. Right? And people have great difficulty sometimes in the early days of being a coach in understanding this. And clients sometimes have difficulty. Because a client will say, I'm giving you all this money, and you don't even give me an answer. And it's true. And it's based on something that Einstein said. In the 1930s, Einstein said, let's see if I can remember it, in order to solve the problems that we currently face in life, we must access a higher level of intelligence than that which we used to originally create the problem. Oh my God. Let me say that one more time. In order to solve the problems that we face in life, we must access a higher level of intelligence than that which we used to originally create the problem. Now, there are two messages in that statement. And the first message, I think, is a bit negative. The first message says, whatever you are experiencing, you've created it. You know? And in coaching, we use the phrase, we manifest our own reality. Now, can I ask, do you all agree with that? Yeah? 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 It's a bit negative, though, because if you are experiencing something horrible in your life, an illness or, you know, something, you don't want someone coming and saying, well, it's your fault, you know, you did this. You want someone to give you a hug, don't you? You want someone to show you love, and you don't want someone to say, well, you know, you've only got yourself to blame. But unfortunately, Einstein is correct. We do create our own reality. Now, how do we do it? Well, today, I will not talk about quantum physics. But yet, quantum physics plays a large part in this. I will not talk about electromagnetism. And yet, electromagnetism plays a large part in this. I will not talk about the fact that we live in a holographic universe, even though that has a large part to play. I will not talk about the power of thought and vibration and frequency, even though that has a large part to play in all of this. And if we had time, I would take you through all of that. And that the world we live in is actually not the world you think you live in. And that the way you create things is not the way you think you create things. And if we have time, I would love to spend time talking to you about that. Maybe at the end of the day, if I haven't scared you all away. Okay? But here's one example of how we create our life. Decisions. You make thousands of decisions every month. That decision to have that cigarette or not. That decision to have that alcoholic drink or not. That decision to get up early or lie in bed late. That decision to watch television for 3 hours or go for a walk in the fresh air. That decision when you're down in the center of town and you're feeling hungry and you go left into McDonald's or you turn right into something more healthy, like, I can't think. A salad. Isn't that a reflection on our society? I cannot think of one international name that I would call healthy, right? But, you know, you go to a salad bar or a juice bar or something. These are the decisions we make day by day by day by day. And they create our life, our reality. And I like that. Because it means you and I can now start to make different decisions, and we will instantly experience different outcomes. We are not waiting for some stranger to come riding over the hill on a white horse and save us. We have the power. There's an old saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. I don't know where that came from originally. It's been around many years, but it is so true. If it's to be, it's up to me. We have the answer within us. So the first part of Einstein's statement says we create our own reality. The second part of his message is a bit different. So here we are. We have over 20 of us here in the room. I don't know you. You don't know me. What will happen? Well, I don't know. Maybe we will go on to build strong relationships. Maybe we won't. Who knows these things? So I don't know you, but actually I know an awful lot about you. I know a huge amount about every one of you. Number one, you are human beings. And as human beings, you have within you the most incredible power. You have a power, you have a strength, you have a magnificence. If you only came to a true understanding of who you are and what you are, you would be shocked, but in a good way, you know? But you are not only human beings, you are also spiritual beings. And as spiritual beings, you have within you omnipotence and power. And you have, this is the important thing, you have the ability to access any resources you ever need to deal with any problems that life are giving you. And more than that, you have the ability to access and create any resources you need to help you to set and achieve any goal in life that you want. This I know with a deep and profound sense of knowing. The problem is, when we are tiny little children, no one ever teaches us about the power within, how to access that power, how to direct it outwards. The world we live in teaches us exactly the opposite. The world we live in teaches what we call transference of responsibility. That if we have a challenge or a problem or we want to achieve something, we get someone else to deal with the problem. Think about it, okay? Have you ever gone to a theater? Anyone ever gone to a theater? No? No? Oh, okay. Okay, you know, think about it. You go to a theater, which is wonderful, by the way, you know, nothing wrong with that. But think about it. You're paying some money. You say, there's my money. Now, entertain me. It's your job to now make me happy for the next 2 hours. Isn't that true? You go to a doctor or a therapist and you say, here's some money. let me tell you about my problem. Now, your job is to fix me. I've given you money. I've told you the problem. Now, please fix me. Now, there's nothing wrong with doctors and therapists. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to get the point across that we have this transference of responsibility. And we see it. We think it's the job of the state, the government, to look after us. And in many parts of life. Whereas the real truth is, you have the power within you. And no one teaches us this. And this is what coaches do with and for their clients. They have the appropriate word, if you, how do you describe coaching? It's ontological. I never use that word usually. But if you look up the definition, ontology, it means the answer lies within. And the role of a coach is to work with their client and help the client to reach deep within themselves and to come up with an answer that is right for the client, not right for the coach, right for the client. And we do this through deep and advanced, what we call questioning skills. So a good coach is another definition, a master of the question. The ability to ask deep, laser-like questions that are powerful, but non-aggressive, gentle, and non-threatening at the same time. To really help that client think deeply about who they are, what they want to achieve, and so on. Now, we do this in many ways. One of this is, you've probably seen this before, a thing called the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life basically says our life is divided into many different parts. So, health, career, money. Oh, by the way, money is not the same as career. People make the mistake of joining the two together. You don't need a career to manifest money. So we'll talk about that another day. The people you love, the ones that are close to you, your family and children. Your intellect, your knowledge, what do you know? What are you studying? What are you learning? Your community, fun, friends. These are all part of our life. My favorite, spiritual. And there's actually more. There's 8, but there's many more parts to our life. A good coach would work with their client, helping them, first of all, to get rid of issues and problems and obstacles in these areas. Because you need to get rid of the problems before you start to move forward. And then help the clients to set goals in each of these and start to work on achieving them. But doing it in a balanced and a holistic way. Now, this is my stuff here coming in. You don't have, in my view, there is no point in becoming a multi-millionaire if you have a heart attack and die on the way. It seems a little counterproductive. Yeah? There's no point in becoming a multi-millionaire if you lose everything you love in your life. Yeah? And if we have time, I have an example from my own life. I could tell you about that. So we do it in a holistic way, And I was very lucky that I had a situation in my life many, many years ago that made me realize this very quickly. I was very happily married. I had 2 very young, tiny children. I was running a company, not coaching, this was before. I left the military. I spent 9 years in the military, in the Royal Marines. I came out, I went into the insurance world, and I built up a big insurance company. I had over 1,000 people working for me all over the United Kingdom. I was making great money, and I became very arrogant. Yeah, became very arrogant. And I was traveling all the time, never at home, never at home. And my wife kept saying to me back then, I don't want this. You know, I don't want this. I want you to be at home. I don't want the money. I don't want, you're my husband. You're a father to your children. You never see your children. You're never here. And I kept saying, I'll sort it. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. And I never did. And time went by, and time went by, and time went by. And 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And my wife kept saying, I don't want this. And I kept saying, yeah, I'll sort it. And then one day she said, I'm leaving. I've had enough. And she divorced me. And that was a big shock. Big shock. And it really made me sit back and think, oh my God, how has this happened? How has all this suddenly happened? But of course, it didn't suddenly happen. It was over years. And whose fault is this? And when I looked in the mirror, it was very obvious whose fault it was. It was mine. It was mine. So we got divorced. We split up. I sold my company. And then I worked at getting my wife back. And I found a way, and I want to share this with you. Now, don't tell anyone this. This is a secret. I should patent this. I found a way of getting the woman you love into your life guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed. I found that 3 years of crying and begging seemed to work. Right? We were separated for 3 years, and every day I used to go around her house, knock on the door, and say, I'm sorry. And for the first 6 months, she said, yeah, I've heard it before. And she shut the door. And so I had to woo her back. And 3 years later, we got remarried. We got remarried. So, and that was a big shock to me, you know. So I realized that there's no point in having that if you don't have that. Yeah? So, anyway, this is what we call the wheel of life. This is just one of multiple, many tools that a good coach would use with their clients. There's a book written by a colleague of ours called Laura Comerson. She's from Budapest. And she's written a book called The Toolful Coach. And it has 150 coaching tools and models. You know, this is just one. A good coach would know many of these. And we teach this. And some of them are very general. Let me show you a couple. So there's one that has been around for a long time, called the TGROW. It's called the T-Grow model. The letters just stand for something. So, Ivan, if I was with you and we were coaching, the T stands for what is the topic that we will coach on today? What is the area? Is it health, wealth, relationship, career, parenting, time management? You know, what is the area? What is the issue? What is the topic? And we take time and we discuss that, what is most important to you right now in your life. Then we move on to goal. How do we set and what type of goals would we like to set in this particular area. Then we become like a detective, and we look at the reality. So what is going on in your life right now? What does your life look like now? What makes you feel and think and believe that you need something to change? So we become like a detective. Then we move on to the O for options. And we look at various ways and methods and means and parameters and options. And finally, the W, the UBV, the way forward. We create an action plan. This is just one coaching model. There's another one called the IDEAL. There's one called the 3 R's, the ICE. There's one called the Oscar, OSKAR, solution focused model. There's one called Sparkle, SPARKLE. There's many. Some of these are, we would call them general. This is a general model. You can use it for many, many things. Others are specific, like a surgeon, like a doctor, a surgeon would use a special tool for an operation. Some of these are specifically for financial coaching, wealth coaching, relationship coaching, career coaching, goal coaching, management coaching, and so on. So a good coach would have a tool bag filled with different models, but the models live here. They live up here, you know. So when we're with a client, we are able to know what to do with and for that human being. If you look at now, here we are in the present. And we have the future. And we have the past. There are many therapies. I mean, there's well over 50 therapies out there. Gestalt, transactional analysis, occupational therapy, cognitive behavior, many others. Some of them are excellent. They are wonderful. But there are some therapies that will take a person into the past to deal with a trauma, an issue, a problem, so that they can deal with it and then move into the future. In coaching, we don't do much of that. In coaching, we usually start here, from the now. Now, we actually teach a thing called timeline. We teach about beliefs, where beliefs come from, where disempowering beliefs come from, and why. We do cover all that. But generally, we start here, and we move into the future. And there is now very compelling evidence, and scientists like David Bohm, Bruce Lipton, and many others, a lot of compelling evidence to show that this, if it is not done correctly, can be very dangerous. Focusing on, now you know this, right? Your grandmother told you this. Right? All over the world, people were told. You know the saying, where attention goes, energy flows. Have you heard that type of saying? Where attention goes, energy flows. Everything in the world is energy. Everything. Even this pen, which appears to be completely solid, a quantum physicist would tell you most of it doesn't exist. It's simply vibrating at an incredible speed. And vibration creates matter. Vibration creates matter, okay? And if we were to go down into the electrons and the neutrons, and we got an electron microscope and we looked at that, we would find that the deeper we go, you get an atom. What is an atom? A nucleus in the middle, and an electron flying around in all directions. But it is going so fast, it's like the propeller of an aeroplane. It looks as if it's solid. But if it stopped, there is more air, space than... So, anyway, I'm not here to teach physics, but you know what I mean. So, Let me just put that back on. So everything is energy. So where attention goes, energy flows. And whatever you give your energy to, what will happen to it? It will grow. Whatever you feed with energy will grow. So there is a danger that if you focus on something from your past that you do not want, guess what will happen? You get more of it. And I'll give you some examples when we get back from coffee. But just think about, people are constantly programming themselves and reprogramming themselves. Have you ever heard the saying, you become what you think about most of the time? Famous Earl Nightingale said this in 1920. Wallace Wattles said it in his famous book in 1921. David Bohm, the nuclear scientist who worked with Einstein, said this: your thoughts create matter. You become what you think about most of the time. The problem is, every time you have a thought, you actually have two thoughts. The plus and the minus. Have you ever heard anyone say, I wish I had more money? I wish I had more money. Have you ever heard anyone say that? No? Well, don't they say that in Bulgaria? In England, they say it all the time. I wish I had more money. Well, what is that telling your subconscious? It's actually telling your subconscious that you don't have any money. It's not telling your subconscious that you do. It's not telling your subconscious you are rich, you are wealthy, you are abundant. No, it's giving the opposite message. It's saying, I wish I had more money because actually I do not. So every thought actually is two thoughts, the positive and the negative of it. And you become what you think about most of the time. Have you ever heard people say things like, oh, our family, you know, we've never been lucky. In our family, we've never been lucky. No, that's not what happens to us. That's other people. You ever heard people say that? Yeah? What are they doing? They're programming themselves. Nothing wrong with that. This is what happens. A coach will help their clients to understand, so the client can start to think in a different and more creative way. And we'll talk about that a little more after coffee. So, 11:07, shall we take a 10-minute coffee break? Cool, thank you.